Hello, everyone. Welcome to Momversations. I'm your host today, and my name is Mallory. Here at Momavate, we empower you to elevate your mothering experience. Today, joining us is Lisa Decker. We're so happy to have you, Lisa, and you, our audience members. Thank you for being here. Here at Momavate, we are a community, or a mom unity, as we like to say, and we like to ask the question, what do moms do anyway? Well, with this statement, we say moms raise up society, not just our children, but all of society. This acronym is jam-packed with all these different good resources and how moms are elevating not just their own kids in their house, but everyone. Today, we're going to touch on some unique circumstances with Lisa. And let's hop right in. Lisa, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey there. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm Lisa C. Decker. There's a lot of Lisa Deckers in the world. So if you ever want to connect with me, anyone watching now or later, you got to look for the Lisa C. And I am a certified divorce financial analyst, a real estate collaboration specialist in divorce, and a certified amicable divorce practitioner. I've been helping clients for over 14 years with this wonderful work and helping show people how they can divorce better, smarter, save money, and save the fabric of their family because, families may change, but they'll still be families, and we want them to be as intact as possible and people to move forward without being scarred in life. And so it's a very big honor. I mostly work now in the last 8 years with couples as a financial neutral, those who want to have a more respectful, civilized, money saving, sanity saving divorce experience. And it is with great pride that I do this work and very honored to help people at a difficult time in their lives. I am also, since we are talking about moms, I am a mom to 3 beautiful daughters, all grown, and 2 wonderful granddaughters, 7 and 10. And I'm also, at this stage of my life, I have been a caretaker to my mother for the past 7 years through her triple cancer diagnosis and journey, her second time around with cancer. And I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor as well. So I know a lot about raising children, at least the girls anyway. And I'm happy to be here on your show today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Wow, you've run quite the gamut of experience in life. How did you get into this line of work?
Well, I had interestingly, when I was first diagnosed with cancer back in 1997, I had been studying to be a CFP, wanting to get into the financial services world and help people with their money. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer one day and multiple sclerosis the next day, and life just turned upside down very quickly. And I had to pivot, and my pivot was saving my life and my ability to walk and all of that. I am so very grateful to have come out of all of that after a while and heal and be able to serve people in a different way. But I eventually ended up moving from Florida to Georgia, and I was approached by someone to be recruited into a financial services company. And I was going for my licenses to do that kind of work. And I met someone who said she was a CDFA. And like a lot of people say to me, a what? And she explained that she helped people with divorce financial planning. And I was so intrigued because I had several divorcing clients. And I thought, well, I think I know what I'm doing. So once I looked into it, I realized I'm not sure. And so I took the training, the certification program, and I never looked back. Actually, I found out that my broker dealer that I had been recruited to work with was corrupt. And I said, I don't do that to people. I don't sell people things they don't need so I can take a trip somewhere. I'm not interested in that anymore, but I'm going to take this other path where I can help people during this very difficult time. And that's how it all began.
Wow. So could you break down a little further exactly what a CDFA is? This is the first time I've heard this term, and probably, like you said, a lot of people aren't familiar with it. So what would you do on a daily basis?
So Clients come to me in a variety of ways. I should have mentioned this in the beginning. I am the founder and CEO of Divorce Money Matters. That's the primary site where I help people who are going through divorce, and also DivorceTownUSA.com, which is a community website that I developed so that people can find all the people that they need when they're going through divorce, with lots of resources and all the different professionals that you may need. So I mentioned that because I have a roadmap at DivorceTownUSA.com that explains that there are more than one ways to come through divorce. A lot of people know the stereotypical, hire lawyers and put on your gloves and get ready to duke it out. But there is a paradigm shift happening in the world of divorce, and we're showing people that there are much better ways to go about it, much more amicable ways, truly money-saving ways, and ways where you get the expertise and experience of those in their individual specialties. So for instance, if a client comes to me through what we call Financials First Freeway, we will work on putting together a financial plan of their assets and liabilities, and figuring out their net worth and the best way to go about splitting those items, also called their marital balance sheet. How do we best split everything up so that they each get their fair share? And even as important is avoid paying unnecessary taxes that can happen in divorce if it's not done properly. Avoid credit issues, avoid insurance issues, and avoid issues overall that can help people, prevent people from ending up on the end of a divorce on the other side, and then not being able to comply with what they agreed to because nobody did the background work to begin with. And then you've got a whole other set of problems, and you end up having to go back to court. And I've been involved in cases where I was brought in after the fact when the mistakes were already made, and asked to try and figure things out, and it costs the person or persons more money after the divorce than if they had been done properly before the divorce. They spent more money after to try to fix the problem, and it really was a mess to fix. So we go in as certified divorce financial analysts, and we analyze each individual line item of what type of asset is it, what are the components of that we need to look at, the underlying issues that as we do our analysis. And then we put all the pieces back together in our divorce software as a puzzle. And then we present it to our clients, and we say, this is a recommendation of how you should go about considering to do this split so that you can avoid the problems that I just mentioned. We also then do a budget, a future cast budget of what it's going to look like for each party on the other side of their divorce. And it's very much an educational process. I believe that my role is not just to be a number cruncher. I guide people through the process. I coach them. I'm a facilitator as well. And as a financial neutral, I'm there to keep the conversation going between the parties, kind of like a financial mediator. I'm not a mediator. I'm just very good at negotiating with people and seeing both sides of things and helping them to understand the ramifications of their choices for each of them, and then letting them come to their own decisions. And it's been working beautifully, Mallory. I have been so blessed to work with couples who come out of this with respect for each other and able to move on. You're a mom show here, and I love that. So let's talk about something here. I say to couples when they come to me, and maybe they're a little on edge, not everybody's so kumbaya, and I say, let's start with the children. Do you want to be the reason that your children cannot stand to be in the same room with you at their own wedding or graduation or when grandchildren come? Because how each of you individually and jointly act together or individually can have a great impact on your children and their future happiness. I want to help you understand that the choices that you make, the way that you talk about each other around the children, the just the whole way you go through the process can damage or can show your children great examples of how things sometimes don't work out and you move on with dignity and grace and you don't have to destroy your family in the process. And that's something I hope your viewers take away from this, is that divorce is, a devastating thing, but it doesn't have to destroy your family and it doesn't have to destroy them for the rest of their lives. I also want to point out that I am a grandchild of divorce. I've never been divorced, but I am a widow. So it's another type of grieving process. But my grandparents divorced at a time when people definitely didn't do it. It was very taboo. But it fractured the family in such a way that I never got to meet a lot of my family for most of my life. Ironically, I had a client come into my life a few years ago who was a genealogist, and she took one look at me and asked me if she could do my family tree. It was a very divine meeting, and I'm very grateful for her. But recently, I met a lot of family at a family reunion, the first time they ever had one, and I connected with them about 3 days before it happened. And I got on a plane and flew to Philadelphia, and I walked into a room with 50 family members I had never met. It was kind of like an adoptive child meeting their birth family. So I just loved these people, and I thought, what a shame I've missed a lifetime. And that can happen in divorce. Families can become so severed that children, are taken one way or the other, and they don't get to see the other side of their family. So this is about not just figuring out how to split the money. It's also about families, because that's number one in my mind. And on that same roadmap that I have at DivorceTown USA, we have Put Kids First Parkway. Some people will start in their divorce by doing their parenting plan first. And that can be done with therapists or specialists, child specialists, attorneys can do them as well. And by doing the parenting plan first, you can take that element of holding a child as a weapon or a pawn out of the equation, because now you've already agreed to that and you can set that aside, and then you just go and work on the other pieces of it. And the other piece of that roadmap is Amicable Divorce Avenue. And that is an entirely new network of people across the country that I am proud to be a part of, proud to network with. And we are professionals who have specialized training. We commit to helping people in the best way possible, and very upfront billing practices. In my case, I do flat fee only, and I'm one of the very few in the country that does that. But at least disclosing up front what people can expect in their billing practices as well. And it's an entirely new concept, because there literally is a paradigm shift that is happening in the world of divorce these days. People honestly are sick of the War of the Roses type of divorce. And we try to keep them away from, on my roadmap, it's the street intersections of Bigger Bucks Boulevard and Duke It Out Drive. And that's where things get really nasty. And that's what we want to help people avoid. Most people do not know the average of divorce in America is between $15,000 to $25,000 per spouse to get divorced. Unbelievable. And that's not even going before a judge or a jury. That's just like getting through mediation or to mediation in some cases. We have found a way to do it easier, faster, simpler, and less expensive. And it's an incredible gift for all of us to be able to do that, to help people, and a gift when they come back and say, this was so much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I am a child of divorced parents, and I don't think I realized that the costs were so astronomical. But I have felt the effects that, my parents definitely tried to put their kids first, but bottom line is divorce impacts your family. So I think the more people we can have as like neutral mediators, such as yourself in this position, trying to smooth over all those potential obstacles is fantastic. And I'll have to ask my parents if they even considered incorporating more people beyond lawyers? Because it sounds like there are a lot more resources that would have been quite beneficial.
Some of the things that we see are the house, for instance. Many times attorneys will, suggest that one spouse or the other keep the house, or the spouse wants to keep the house. And no one looks at the fact that, can they qualify to do a refinance? Can they afford to keep the home? Are there repairs that need to be done to the home that they might end up with on their own? So we do all of that kind of analysis up front, and we work with specialists in those fields, in the fields of real estate and mortgage. There are certified divorce lending professionals on the mortgage side, and certified I'm trying to remember the real estate. Oh, the RCS-D that I hold, real estate collaboration specialist in divorce. I went for that training because I wanted to add that extra layer of knowledge regarding real estate, because it's such a big part of people's total net worth. But I don't actually practice as a realtor or anything. But that knowledge, all of those that we work with have the specialized knowledge, because there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong just in those specific areas. There's so many layers of traps that people don't know about. And even the attorneys will admit, I went to law school because I don't like math and I didn't know these things. So by bringing together people as a team and analyzing each piece of that, especially when you have complicated executive compensation issues, retirement plan issues, maybe insurance issues, it takes a team to put that together, and it doesn't always have to be expensive, even when using a team.
Well, it sounds like you have a plethora of knowledge in so many different aspects of what goes on during divorce. What do you personally think the greatest challenges are in your career?
In my career, well, I think it's been a blend of trying to deal with a lot of personal issues at the same time that I have been building these two divisions in my business. I will tell you, the last 7 years of my 14 years in this work have been very traumatic and very difficult. And I'm grateful to not only be alive, but still standing and smiling. Because, it was touch and go there for a while. I mentioned my mother and the triple cancer diagnosis. Well, she came to live with my husband and I 2 weeks before he suddenly passed away, when he had a heart attack driving home from the store with us in the car. And 2 days after his funeral, my mother started a very intensive course of chemotherapy, and her treatments and surgeries and such went on for more than 400 days of medical related appointments over 2 years, and then onward. But the first 2 years with that were very difficult. I've had some serious injuries. I had a deer, actually a big buck, crash into the side of my car passing over I-75, a huge highway. I was on the overpass, and that caused a significant nerve injury. And I'm still to this day trying to heal from that. I've had to go for a lot of interventions. My grandchildren lost their father, and I had to, my daughter was struggling at the time, and I took my grandchildren in and ended up raising them for the last couple of years. And then my mother has been living with me this entire time, and she ended up having the cancer return and metastasize to her brain. And we found that out when we went to do some digging about her dementia. Dementia had started to set in. And that was in the year of 2020. And at the same time, I was diagnosed with breast cancer the week that the world shut down. So it's been very challenging with all of the personal things going on. But I liken my life to being like Bobo the clown. Bobo the clown, you're kind of young, but do you know what I'm talking about?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know anything specific.
Okay, it's fine. Bobo was a big blow up clown when we were kids, when I was a kid, and you'd punch it. It was like a punching bag, and it would knock down and stand right back up. And I tell people, you keep knocking me down, life keeps knocking me down, but I'm going to stand back up and I'm going to keep going because it's just in my nature. And I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful to have made it through so many difficult, challenging things. And that keeps me going. And work really was a blessing in all of it because it was a distraction from a lot of the things that I was going through personally. I understand as a mom, we are mama bears. We want to protect our children. We want to give them the best, and we should. But it's very difficult sometimes to be managing, taking care of, I talk about the sandwich generation. I'm sure you've heard of that, being caught in midlife between taking care of aging parents and children. Well, I am a hoagie with all the fixings because, I've got, children, mother, and grandchildren all at the same time. And it's been a blessing to be able to take care of everyone. But one thing I will say to the moms out there is that, we have to have a balance. You must have a balance because especially as you get older and these other responsibilities start to kick in, because 65% of caretakers actually die before the people that they are taking care of. Let that sink in. Yes. And so you have to reach out and let people support you. I finally was able to get my mother into a home hospice program, and just having someone come out a couple days a week and sit with her and check her, bathe her, and, help me out was a huge blessing. And I also got some services for my granddaughters, and that was helpful. And so now, I just live in a sense of gratitude for all of the wonderful people that have come out and helped in so many ways. But finding that balance has been very difficult at times with so many balls in the air. And so I will say that if you don't, you may do what I did when it all kind of settled down. And by that, I mean, my mother finally got to the point where she was leaving the house with hallucinations and such, and ended up falling and breaking her shoulder and suddenly not able to walk anymore. So she is in a nursing home, but it's been a wonderful blessing again, because such good people there taking care of her, and she loves it, which is, as a mom and a daughter, is just such a great blessing. And then my granddaughters this year ended up being accepted to an amazing school, a one-of-a-kind school on the planet called the Milton Hershey School in Pennsylvania. And this is a school for children who have grown up with or been exposed to adverse childhood experiences, and really need some extra loving care. And they do everything for the children. The children live on campus in Hershey, PA. This is funded by the Hershey Foundation of Hershey chocolates. And they don't pay me to talk about this, but I want to tell people, buy Hershey chocolates. They help so many wonderful children in need. These are the kindest people on the planet that I've ever met. And I am so grateful that now they are in a good place, getting everything that they need. And for the first time in my life, in just the last month or so, I am taking care of me. And it feels wonderful to finally be able to catch my breath and do all of that. But the point of all of this is that it got to a point where I didn't think I was going to make it anymore. I was just very ill. And don't let yourself get to that point. Reach out for more help, find other resources, because the world needs you too, and your children need you, and your family needs you.
Absolutely. Well, you have a wonderful outlook. You're so optimistic after everything you've been through. So kudos to you for being able to hold on to that, and be, I'm sure, inspiring to more people than just me sitting here, because that's quite incredible. Through all those roles that you've shifted to and from, whether it's taking on, raising kids again, or being a caregiver when you thought, maybe that was beyond, those were years past. How has that been, shifting from so many roles?
I'm sorry, how is it that I what?
shifting back and forth between roles of like a caregiver and raising children, and then probably unexpectedly, if your grandchildren came to live with you, how was that always shifting from what your potential role would be?
Oh, it was very challenging. I mean, children are children. They have needs and they're very busy and, always moving and excited and squealing, especially girls. They love to let out those little squeals. And then I had a mom who had dementia, who had, serious illness, and she liked the quiet and she was used to the quiet, and it was challenging at times. So I had to learn to balance that by moving the kids' play area to a different part of the house where they couldn't disturb her. And, they learned to understand that, if grandma's sleeping, we have to be more quiet. But it was challenging having three generations in the house, all of us having gone through some kind of trauma. And, one of the things that I have been doing is working on a book called Shattering the Legacy of Trauma. And that is because before all of this started, I failed to mention that one of my daughters had a rock climbing fall and nearly died. She broke her back, fractured her skull, and had multiple other broken and fractured areas. And I was speaking out loud to a friend of mine, and I said, is there something like a trauma gene? Because we have trauma running through the family. And I said, I just can't get this out of my mind. Does a trauma gene exist? And I went home and I looked it up, trauma gene, and epigenetics came up. And that is something that is like below the cellular level, that like feeds into our soul, I want to say, and it can carry forward from generation to generation. People who have experienced trauma, children especially, adverse childhood experiences, there's actually a study about it called the ACEs study. They need to have help and support and therapy and whatever else they need from a very young age. Because if you don't deal with those things, they manifest later in life as mental health issues, physical issues, relationship issues. And I believe that's a lot of the problem in the world today, that there's a lot of trauma that's come in generations before that's never been dealt with. And people are not understanding why they feel some of the ways that they do. It's a fascinating entire world of science that has been around for about 20-25 years, but is becoming a little more mainstream these days. So that's a book that I'm working on, Shattering the Legacy of Trauma, because I want to see families heal and not shatter that legacy from going forward. And that's what I've told my granddaughters by having this opportunity to attend and grow up at the Milton Hershey School. You are the generation that is going to shatter this legacy. And I have no doubt that they will be.
Absolutely. Well, Lisa, you shared with us so much expertise around this area in both your personal story, that's just absolutely incredible, and what is that saying? How you make your mess your message. And I feel like you are the poster child for that. So, and your optimism is just admirable. So we will, on the Mom of Eight website, we will link all our resources to get to Lisa. If anyone is interested, you can visit Divorce Money Matters, that website. Is that right?
Yes.
And Lisa is also a fellow co-host here, and her show is called the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show. So we will also provide information on that if you want to check out her show as well. But Lisa, thank you so much. Our half hour is up, but we're going to take it off the recording now, and we'll talk one-on-one with our guests. So thank you again, Lisa.
My
And
pleasure.
we'll end the show here.